Joining me now is the Democratic Majority Leader in the House of Representatives, Steny. Congressman, thanks so much for being here.
Candy, always good to be with you. Thank you.
I want to start out with what I think is going to occupy your fall, and that is these Bush tax cuts, which are set to expire in January. The Democratic position, the administration's position, has been we want to keep them for the middle class, and any household making $250,000 or above, we're going to repeal them. So what you have here now is the argument, no, bad time, there's not enough jobs out there, you can't create jobs by essentially raising taxes, even if you want to call these rich people. I want to introduce into this argument something that Peter Orszag wrote. Now, he, of course, is the former director of the Office of Management and Budget for the president. He's talking about the idea of, you know, this huge deficit versus the huge jobs deficit. In the face of the dueling deficits, the best approach is a compromise. Extend the tax cuts for 2 years and then end them all together. And by extending the tax, he means for the rich. He went permanent ones for the middle class. How about that?
Well, Candy, first of all, we need to realize what is going to happen. It was put in place by the Republicans in 01 and 03 to meet their budget numbers. They had these taxes go up for all Americans. The president has said, we have said, we absolutely, in this troubled economic time, are not going to allow families to have a tax increase, period. Families, as you say, we refer to as the $250,000 and under people, which is 98% of America. And we don't believe that their taxes ought to go up.
Here?
Well, compromise has been very tough to get, as you know, Candy.
But are you open to it?
Sure, we'll talk about compromise, but we don't believe. I don't agree with Mr. Orszag or others who believe that a tax cut on the richest Americans are going to have any effect on the economy.
Okay,
in
then
fact,
what about
we gave 98% of America, as you know, tax cuts in the Recovery Act.
So a lot of people make the argument, look, this isn't going to create jobs if we allow these tax cuts to expire for the rich. Then why not get behind a payroll holiday?
Well, of course, we did on a FICA tax, as you know, passed legislation that's in place that gave small businesses, if they hire people who are unemployed, a tax holiday, as you point out. Not only did we give that, but we gave a $1,000 bonus if those people are on the payroll a year from now. So we have done things of that nature. We've done a number of things in the House of Representatives to spur job creation, job growth. We've had trouble getting them through the Senate. One of the bills that we absolutely want to get done this coming 4 weeks is to provide for dollars for small business to get loans to expand their businesses.
To ease the credit.
And we passed that twice, and it's still sitting in the Senate. We hope that they'll pass it.
When it comes to these tax cuts for the wealthy, you're a smart guy. It seems to me one of two things is going to happen here. Either you take this off the table because your own Democrats are out there going, oh, no, don't want to do this. You've got more than a handful of Democrats in the House saying this is not a good idea. So you either need to take it off the table and deal with it after the election or come to a compromise. What's going to happen?
Katie, what's going to happen is, A, we're going to see what the Senate can do. As you know, the House we've got over 400 bills pending in the Senate that have passed. 70% of them with 50 Republicans, so non-controversial. They're just sitting in the Senate. So one of the things we're going to do, and I've talked to Senator Reid about this, we're going to see what the Senate is going to do. Then the House will make its determination.
So it's the art of the doable, and you might go along. And you know the Senate's going to come up with a compromise,
but
that's
again,
the only way they get anything done.
our policy is we are not going to allow the Republican policy of increasing taxes by having these taxes expire, which was Republican policy. We're not going to allow that to happen for the middle-income Americans, working Americans.
You have spent your break in 11 states, 20 candidates. We're now looking at some fairly well-respected political pundits saying Democrats might lose as many as 60 seats. What's the problem out there?
Well, I think those pundits are wrong. Number one, we're going to hold the House. We're going to win.
But you're going to lose seats.
We're going to lose seats, probably. I think that's undoubtedly
24,
historically.
34.
I'm not going to speculate on a number, Candy, but we're going to hold the House. As I say, I've been to as you said, I've been 20 candidates, 11 states over the last 2.5 weeks. Our candidates are feeling good. And what's going to happen is people are going to compare not the perfect, but the alternatives. As Joe Biden likes to say, they're not going to compare us with the almighty. They're going to compare us with the alternative. An alternative that wants to go back to the exact same Bush policies, according to Mr. Sessions, their campaign chairman, which led to high deficits, the worst job performance of any administration since Herbert Hoover, and extraordinary reduction in wealth of our country, and the stock market tanked.
But can you stave off disaster for Democrats?
Absolutely.
When you have Democrats who don't particularly want to talk about health care reform, and those who voted against it actually have ads out there for it, who don't much want to talk about the stimulus program and how much it costs. Is it enough to say, yeah, but the Republicans got us into this mess? I mean, that's not much of a bumper sticker.
Well, it's not the American public's smart. And they pursued a vote in 1992 that elected a president. He put in place a program. They were somewhat skeptical, as you recall. But they became very enthusiastic when they saw how well that economic program worked, opposed by every Republican. Then in 2000, a new administration came in, said their policies were going to work. In fact, they failed and gave us the worst economy in 75 years. So people are going to compare the failed Bush policies, which the Republicans say they want to return to. That's a quote, not a supposition.
Would you agree it's a bit, right now, you can say we're on a path, we're moving forward, it's going to get better, but it's kind of a weak hand to go into November with?
Well, I think the fact things have gotten better. We've had 4 quarters of economic growth. The stock market, Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, up over 60%. Things are getting better. 2, 3, 4 million jobs have been created under the Recovery Act. So, yes, we are not where we want to be. We want to get those 8 million jobs back that were lost under the Bush administration, so we can get people back, and we're going to continue to focus on policies, which is what the president said in Cleveland when he gave his speech about investing in infrastructure and creating jobs. The other thing, Candy, I want to mention is we have an agenda, not just for the balance of this year, but an agenda for the coming years, and that's the Make It in America agenda. People are concerned and fearful they're not going to be able to make it in America. And one of the things they believe is we need to make things in America. We need to manufacture things in America so people have the availability of good-paying jobs with good benefits. So our Make It in America agenda is going to be one of the hallmarks as we move forward. And frankly, when you look at the Clinton administration's creation of 21 million new jobs in the private sector, as opposed to George Bush's 1 million, you see that there's a real contrast.
And just quickly on a matter of strategy, we know that there has been much made of the fact that eventually your money does run out, and you've got to save who you can and toss some others overboard. When are you going to begin to toss some of your weaker Democratic candidates overboard in terms of money?
We don't think we have weak Democratic candidates right now.
Okay.
Never, Kenny, you didn't expect an answer to that. Clearly, we will look at, and if there are candidates that are very substantially behind it and they can't make it, clearly we'll have to make some tough judgments. But with all due respect to my good friend Carl Holtz, who I think is a terrific reporter, that decision has not been made, as Chris Van Hollen made it very clear. And in fact, Betsy Markey, who was one of those, Frank Crownville, one of those mentioned in Carl's article, are absolutely top priorities for me and for our party. Betsy Markey is tied in the polls. Frank Crownville slightly ahead. So these candidates are in very good shape, and they're going to win.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Candy.
Democratic leader Steny Hoyer, we appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Next, can the Tea Party and Republicans make for a